Hello, class. So, what we're going to be covering today is we're actually going to be looking at the Scopes trial, also known as the Scopes monkey trial. Scopes monkey trial is very unique in its setting. It is actually where you have a couple of conflicts that come into the public view. One, of course, is you have church and science. Churches stating that the origin of creation is per the Bible. The Bible says that it was created in 7 days. Man had was formed from the earth and then had breath breathed into his form to bring him to life by God. And then you have evolution, which says that everything evolved over time and that we all have an origin that comes from evolution and has continued to evolve through time. This became a major conflict in Tennessee in 1925 when a teacher, John Scopes, decides that he's going to challenge the whole Butler Act of Tennessee, which basically stated that you could not teach evolution. It was not to be taught to students and in public schools. He decides he was going to challenge it. So he actually decides to start teaching it. This brings into forefront a major people for the working on the as a prosecutor. You have William Bryan. William Bryan is a three-time presidential candidate and had been Secretary of State. He is your prosecutor. Then you have Clarence Darrow, who was a big uh, union lawyer. Exact name of it is, of course, a trade union lawyer. And that was really very brought all sorts of social media, well, social media, not even social. This is a free social. Brought all sorts of media into watching this. And it was plastered across the nation as they were and became very politicalized. There was even points where you had different pictures showing people are with monkeys and that they were eating at the table dressed as humans and saying that this is what the Scope was teaching, that we are from monkeys, which is not quite exactly the truth, but this is the exaggeration that was pushed on the one side. And it's very interesting when you look at the trial itself. Only one um, or multiple scientists are called in. I think there's only one who actually have any actual listing of his testimony, but a lot of this all pushed and came back to the fact that, of course, John was found guilty of it. Um, and here is a picture of the actual part of the interrogating and back and forth between Darrow and Bryan, where they're actually arguing the whole thing between the whole actual fundamentalists and modernists. Fundamentalists, of course, everything's by the Bible to the point that the Bible is, absolute. And modernists actually believe that the Bible could actually work with science and that science could actually justify different events within the Bible. Very different and opposing views, and this is what comes to a head in this trial. But it's not the end of it. This trial has ramifications that carry on, and there are many laws besides the Butler law in other states that have followed the same rule. Last case in point was actually in 1968, and at that point in time, the Supreme Court finally steps in and says, "No, this is actually these laws that are stating that the evolution cannot be taught are against the First Amendment. You cannot actually enforce them. So that from that point on, it's allowed to be taught in schools. Uh, but personally, I actually remember a teacher of mine actually at that point, and this is what made this whole thing brought for me, is I remember my teacher, my biology teacher in high school, actually going through the whole Genesis origin story, and then said, and I had to cover that for legal purposes, and this is what I'm going to teach you what evolution says. And this is what really makes it very unique that this actually continued on all the way into the 80s. They still have ramifications that came from this. And there's still this continually slight conflict between the different views, which is very unique in and of itself.